This is my first day. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I'm really ready for this.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. It's me, Eartha, and thank you so much for taking a few moments out of your day to join me and find out what we're going to be talking about today in Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. Before we begin with all the details, I have a question. Do you have a playlist? Something that you listen to, a number of songs, or maybe even a few podcasts in your playlist? I hope Tab is one of your selections on your playlist, but if not, it's okay. But do you have one? Do you have a playlist? And in that playlist, when you were creating it, what are the common themes? And why did you create the playlist? Okay, while you're thinking about your answer, I'll share mine. Yes, I have a couple of playlists. My playlists are usually based on the classes that I teach. So each class that I teach, I have a different playlist. And on those playlists, it usually complements what mindfulness practice that I will be teaching my class, or I like to say guiding my class, because teaching, I don't teach like in a traditional way. And as far as the mindfulness part, I really do not use bells or chimes. We don't sit on pillows. And so my program is really odd and different in a traditional mindfulness community. And I intentionally designed it that way. My background is nursing. And also with that, I am a prior naval officer. And so the amount of stress that I've experienced, I learned different ways to really handle, or may I say, choose to handle difficult situations. And what we're going to talk about today is about stress. And so what does that have to do with a playlist? Okay, so here's the clue. It took me a while to catch on when I was in nursing. And if anybody's been to any kind of nursing school or medical school or any after high school, even high school, you know that certain classes are more challenging than others. And with that, we all learn differently. And so we respond to that learning environment sometimes in a stressful way. Oftentimes, when we are stressed, our bodies will let us know even before we can admit to ourselves that we are stressed. Some people respond, their stomach gets upset, they have digestive issues, they have to go to the bathroom. Some people respond, their body, you start breathing differently, maybe hyperventilating. Some people, the skin breaks out and it starts doing all kind of weird things. Hair texture, the lust of the hair changes with stress. So even though we may not admit that we're stressed, because, there is, I think, a myth that, if you admit that you're stressed, then you must be weak, because, you should be able to to handle it. And that is a myth. I think it's the biggest lie that a person can tell themselves. And I think it's a brave, a characteristic of bravery when you can recognize that your body is stressed. And so we're going to talk a bit about stress and maybe a little bit. And then as a mindfulness activity, I would like to do with you is to create a playlist. When we go to the playlist part of our time together, you won't see me. The screen will go a different color, but you'll hear my voice. So this is how it's going to go. We're going to talk a little bit so that you can get used to and maybe take a few moments to think about and reflect. How does your body respond to stress? Stress, everybody responds to differently. And may I say that maybe everyone defines stress differently. If you have a baby, a 2-year-old, or even a toddler, a 6-month-old, and they drop their favorite toy or their bottle and they can't reach it, they respond in a way that lets us know they're not happy and they want the item that they dropped. And sometimes they respond in a stressful way, crying, pointing, talking, and maybe if we don't understand them, turning, you know, red, eyebrows gets furled, and sometimes their voice gets a little bit of attitude. And so when we are stressed, we can easily see when someone else is stressed, like a little baby or a toddler. When we are stressed, I think it's a good idea to kind of look at ourselves from an outside point of view. And doing that is doing like a mindful body scan, paying attention to your breathing, paying attention to your heart rate, your facial expressions, your voice tone. I was teaching my tween class yesterday, and we were talking about stress. We were talking about how do you respond to stress, and um, how do you uh, uh, how do you bring yourself down to a calmness? And we talked about the benefits of keeping calm during a stressful situation. And one of my students, he's a 7th grader, he brought up a good point. He said he's one thing that is a trigger for him when he is stressed is when someone tells him to calm down. He does, and I know a lot of people, and I've done it too. Somebody tells you to calm down, and it just seems to set you free. And I think if we take a moment and when we're calm and maybe think about why do we get triggered when someone tells us to calm down? Maybe because at that moment we're trying to find the words to express our frustrations, our anger, our disappointments, and some other nonverbal things that we haven't processed yet. And when someone says, calm down, it seems like they are trying to blanket us with some sort of control, indicating that we are out of control. And maybe we are, or maybe we're not. At any rate, when we recognize our triggers, we can be prepared we'll be more prepared in how our body is going to respond. And I think that's one way in we could put in our little toolbox in handling stress. Stress is a normal part of life. I think sometimes in the media world, and I'm maybe more in the entertainment media world, there is a maybe an unintentional strategy, and I don't know if strategy is the right word, but I'll use it right now. An unintentional or intentional strategy to create a world that is fiction, that doesn't exist. And so, as entertainment, it doesn't matter what the genre is. For instance, when we go to the movie or we go to Netflix and we get our favorite movie, we're getting it for entertainment. And when we sit there and look at this film, in our mind, consciously, we know this is a movie. If whatever's going on in the movies really happened in real life, our response would be totally different. But because we're telling ourselves this is a movie, this was made by a producer, and maybe it's a documentary type of movie. And so we're sitting looking at this documentary movie and we're saying to ourselves, wow, this is really moving. This really happened. Default, this is a movie. And so our body will respond differently than if it was a real situation. Stress. Stress is a normal part of life. And if we're stressed because it's a response to a fear of the unknown, our body responds like it's being threatened. The heart beats faster, we breathe faster, we may have other symptoms. Everybody's different. You may want to escape, you may want to freeze, you may want to fight back. They're all responses to stress. But what about the instigators? I'm going to include that in my class about stress. Well, it's not a class, but our time together. What about the instigators? What about those who like to stimulate certain events in an environment and watch a response from the people around? I mean, it seems that might be their entertainment. But because we're not aware that maybe that person or that group or that whatever is causing or creating a situation to instigate a response from a group or a person, we respond as if it is a real threat. I did this yesterday. I did an exercise yesterday with my twin class, and I was going through some words, but it wasn't the words that was so important. It was how I was saying the words, how fast I was saying the words, using a timer, and my class started to exhibit different signs of stress. And one of my participants said, "Miss Eartha, are you doing this on purpose? Are you making us stressed? Because I'm not getting all this information down that you're talking about." And when I said, yes, I am doing this on purpose, the stress decreased. And the responses decreased, and it was different. It was more fun. And so with that, if we can accept and be open that with life, there is stress. And when we have a day that we consider not stressful, it is a day that our coping mechanisms of how we're responding to the stress, we've done it before. We have some experience in how to handle certain situations. When we are in a situation that we have never been in before, either a situation or an environment or being around people that we're not comfortable with, it's an unknown. We don't know how to respond. And if we're not aware of how, because our nonverbal communicators, our body, how our facial expressions are, and our nonverbal communicators, if we respond in a way that is fearful, sometimes that response is contagious to other people. Stress can be contagious. Fear can be contagious. And that's why in a public area, when someone does something that's threatening, it is a serious offense, because the stress and the fear can cause a mass outbreak and cause other people to get stressed or fearful. And then things get out of control. If you've been in the military, you may be able to identify what I'm speaking about, because if you are on a mission and you have a group of people that you're working with, and even if everybody is participating in this mission and you've never done this mission before, all it takes is one person to lose it, and then everybody else gets a little bit doubtful and lack of confidence. And so it's very important in that group that either the former leader or the informal leader recognize when their people are getting stressed. And you should know your people to help them gain confidence back in themselves and alleviate that stress by talking. How's everybody feeling? And to be honest when we respond. This is making me a little bit scared. This is kind of stressful. I've never done this before. Being prepared and recognizing new situations might be a little bit stressful helps us deal with stress. And recognizing that sometimes if information is not accurate, or if someone doesn't understand the information that's being communicated and misinterprets information, that could be a trigger for stress. So what do? Talk about your stress, how your body's responding. Admit that you are uncomfortable. This is I've not done this before. And find a moment. Maybe you don't have 10 minutes. Maybe you don't even have 5 minutes. Take a moment and take a breath and think about your playlist. In a few moments, we're going to go to the playlist. Now, I'm in my office right here today because the sound quality is better. And so, when I'm making the playlist, it seems like the sound doesn't kind of like bounce off the bounce off the walls. But I just want to make sure that you are getting a good sound quality when I play back the playlist. So The songs that I'm going to play are going to represent different situations, may represent danger. And I don't want to say too much because I want you to come up with how you're feeling. But anyway, the different clips of music that I'm going to play is going to represent different situations. And I invite you, as you're listening to the clips, to do a body scan of how you're responding to that clip of music. All the music are all instrumental. There's no bells or chimes, just to let you know. And some of the music you might like, and some of the music you may not like. The goal is not to form any judgment. The goal is to discover how your body is responding to the playlist. And like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit when I introduce the clip, but you won't see my face because I just think that if I'm on screen, I don't want to be a distractor. And sometimes distractors can take us away from the focus of what we're working on. And then when we get refocused, we've missed chunks of information and then we get stressed. I told my students last week that sometimes distractors are like squirrels. You know, they run around all over the place, up trees in the yard. And sometimes squirrels like to tease because, they're squirrels. And that's what squirrels do. And so when we have a distracting thought, just recognize that it's like a squirrel. It's that if you are you're noticing that maybe the music is not very pleasant to you, and you start to recognize, actually, I really don't like this music, and you start ruminating over something that the music is reminding you of, that's good to note that, oh, this is a trigger for me. But try not to ruminate on it. Try not to kind of go over and over and over that same feeling. Just let it go for a while, write it down, take a breath, blow it away, and let's continue with the playlist. And I'll try to remind you of that as I play the playlist. Okay. So if we were in a real life session, I'd ask, do you have any questions? But since we are virtual, what I'll do is I will pause and explain, and then we'll continue. So I hope you enjoy this exercise. We're going to create a playlist, and it's going to be little clips of music that helps us discover how our body responds to certain situations musically. When you find your body responding, and it's responding in a stressful way, however way that is defined for you, I encourage you to take a breath and remember, life has stressful situations. This is part of life. Blow it away. Because when we can get ourselves into a calmness, we're bringing more oxygen to our brains, and we can make better decisions and respond with better judgment. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the playlist. Well, actually, you'll hear me on the playlist. Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get started. This exercise is called What's on Your Playlist. The playlist is how you respond to certain music that you're going to hear. And I will ask 2 questions. Here's the first play. Here's the scenario. You've just arrived at a new job or new school. In front of you are doors you've never entered before. You don't know what to expect. You begin to move towards the door. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. Scenario number 2. Today is your last day. You're moving to a new city, away from family and friends you've known for so long. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. If the energy feels too big, I invite you to say it out loud or write it down. Then take a breath. Know that you can pause or stop at any time. The goal is simple. Bring your awareness to how you respond. What would you change in your response? Second song, second play. Scenarios are the same, the music is different. Here's the scenario. You've just arrived at a new job or new school. In front of you are doors you've never entered before. You don't know what to expect. You begin to move towards the door. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. Scenario number 2. Today is your last day. You're moving to a new city, away from family and friends you've known for so long. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. If the energy feels too big, I invite you to say it out loud or write it down. Then take a breath. Know that you can pause or stop at any time. The goal is simple. Bring your awareness to how you respond. What would you change in your response? Third play. This is the third song. Scenarios are the same. The music is different. Here's the scenario. You've just arrived at a new job or new school. In front of you are doors you've never entered before. You don't know what to expect. You begin to move towards the door. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. Scenario number 2. Today is your last day. You're moving to a new city, away from family and friends you've known for so long. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. If the energy feels too big, I invite you to say it out loud or write it down. Then take a breath. Know that you can pause or stop at any time. The goal is simple. Bring your awareness to how you respond. What would you change in your response? This is the fourth play, our last song on our playlist. The scenarios are the same. The music is different. Here's the scenario. You've just arrived at a new job or new school. In front of you are doors you've never entered before. You don't know what to expect. You begin to move towards the door. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. Scenario number 2. Today is your last day. You're moving to a new city, away from family and friends you've known for so long. Picture it, feel it, experience the energy. If the energy feels too big, I invite you to say it out loud or write it down. Then take a breath. Know that you can pause or stop at any time. The goal is simple. Bring your awareness to how you respond. What would you change in your response? End of exercise. What did you notice about your emotions, your feelings, your sensations, your energy when the music changed? Was there any differences? Without judgment. And feel welcome to go back and replay the activity and bring your awareness to any changes you experienced.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and I encourage you to make your playlist. If you don't take anything away from this time together, just to recognize that, because life is full of stressors, we can't predict everything. We can't be in control of everything, but we can choose how to respond to anything. So it's about choice. So if something happens and it just really sets you off, you have a choice on how to respond. When you take a breath and you blow the initial blaring, fiery stress away, just know that for your health and for your body, you want to make the best judgment and best decision in response to that stressful situation. Always ask for help if you are in a situation that you really, really are having a difficult time moving through. So talk to a friend, family member, healthcare provider, you're one of your religious leaders, whatever or whoever you feel comfortable with. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.